Hi, friends. Pastor Nathan Decker with you for the Better Together devotion for today. And today is a day of sorrow and grief. The governor of Virginia announced that all the schools would be closed for the remainder of the school year, and lots of parents are going to be learning how to do online schooling, and lots of children and youth and teenagers and young adults are going to be doing things differently, just like we, the church, have been starting doing things differently, and also a lot of memories. Memories and plans that were meant to be made are not going to happen. There's not going to be a senior prom. There's not going to be a graduation on the date that they had set for the graduation. Some parents had already ordered invitations towards the graduation, even. And all of us are collectively experiencing grief. I'll tell you personally, I'm experiencing grief. A person who was a parishioner at another church who became a really good friend and fellow musician, he passed away yesterday. And he's younger than I am, and that affected me dearly. I know that when we express grief, grief is a gift from God. I know we don't like to go through it. In fact, sometimes we avoid it, but grief is the process that God gives us to express what we're feeling and the emotions and all that's going within us. It helps us to understand that it's okay to have these emotions, to have these the anger or the outburst or the tears or the bargaining of saying, what if only, there's all kinds of ways that we grieve. The only way that's wrong to grieve is to not grieve, to avoid it altogether, to bottle it up deep down inside and not allow yourself to express and process it. So I want to challenge you to allow the teenagers to weep, allow all the people to cry. We're going to be going through a time when people we know will catch a virus and will die. And that's not, I don't want to say it's okay. I don't want to say it's not God's plan. Life happens, and through it all, God's grace and God's love will be there to sustain us. And part of that is through the gift of grace. Now, psychologists back in the day came up with that whole 5 stages of grief that a lot of people are familiar with nowadays, where you have kind of denial and anger and bargaining, and you're working towards that acceptance. And people thought of it as almost like levels in a video game, where once you get past this stage, then you'd move on to the next stage, and you got to rush through that one so you can get to the next one, because you're trying to get to that acceptance as hard and fast and quick as you can. When I went to graduate school and we studied grief, we abandoned that completely. In fact, we wouldn't call it the stages of grief. We would call it the emotions or the waves that we go through in grief. And the list of words that we had, that we were using, was more than 26 words. We put on the onset of sudden emotions was one of them, where you suddenly might feel something and you were happy at one moment and suddenly you're not. An onset of anger. There might be a stabbing memory was one of the words that we used, where something that you're walking through the store or you're watching TV and you see a picture of somebody with a cap and a gown on, and it suddenly stabs you in the back, and it was unexpected, and you just begin to weep uncontrollably. We also had other moments, though. We used words like numbness to describe what it first feels like, just the part of the disbelief and the denial. We used words like selective memories, that one day you'll get to the place where in your grief, it's okay to think about this person and not have those tears, to not have that heartache, but instead to have a little bit easier time with the memory. Grief is a gift. It's a gift that allows us to process our emotions. So as you encounter people today, let them grieve. Don't give short little phrases or quips. Don't try to cheer them back up. Instead, sit with them and weep. One of my favorite comic book strips or stories has been The 100 Acre Woods. And my favorite character in The 100 Acre Woods, probably because I have depression myself a lot, is Eeyore. And one day, Winnie the Pooh and Piglet and all of them came over to Eeyore's place, and they saw Eeyore. They found him sitting, and he was just sitting there going, oh. And Pooh says, well, Eeyore, you want to come play with us today? We're going to go do this. We got plans. We're going to go do this. We're going to have a lot of fun. I just don't feel like it today. Well, what do you want to do today, Eeyore? Not much of anything. I just want to sit here. And so Pooh and Piglet and all the others, they sit there. And they just sit there with Eeyore. And they don't say anything at all. They just put their arms around one another. And they hold each other through that time. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to have this sense of regret. It's okay to grieve. In fact, it's the best thing. It's God's gift. Grieve the loss that we all are encountering, the loss of events, the loss of memories that we wanted to make, and even the loss of friends. God is with us in the grief. Go with God and go in peace. Amen.